I've been working on the headliner to fill in the holes that were left behind when I removed the skylight and the speakers. And lighting is my solution for both of them. This is the type that you would find on an airplane where you can adjust it and direct it directly towards it. So that'll be good for reading lights for the girls, and they'll have a dimmer switch that'll be connected to it that they can control. And for this, to make this a mounting bracket, it's just concentric circles. I used a piece of 3/4 inch maple, and yeah, circles on circles, using templates for a couple of these smaller diameters that I wanted to get tight. I didn't have hole saws for, so I used a custom hole saw. You can adjust this to whatever size you want, and that works out pretty well for cutting the thin template stock and then using the router to make all the holes that I needed in this piece. So that worked out really well. And then over here on this panel, it's just 3/4 inch plywood, and again with lighting that'll be controlled by a switch in the back, and all of these will be connected to the house battery. So even if the car's not running, I'll be able to turn these on. And for this one, same thing, it's just a hole. The only kind of special thing I did was make some recesses in the back so that these springs that secure the lights can lay down flat. In the 3/4 inch plywood, they were sticking up about another 1/2 inch, which might have interfered with the roof of the vehicle. And also, I think they would have been a little bit loose in there. So with this, they're nice and secure. So we'll get all this stained up, and the headliner will be ready to go after I get some carpet cleaner and kind of clean these stains. I think that was from where the skylight was leaking. So we'll get that, and this headliner will be ready to install.
This is really fun. Why is everything made in China? China is like so popular.
Hey, one brush. I cut a couple of temporary supports that I could put up there to help hold that up while I kind of position everything in place and act as a second set of hands. That I'm close, so I got to go back a few inches, I think. But now that I'm close, I can get hopefully some of these wires in place. Let's see. Put this one here. These are the these are business. Got them here. Let's try here. Got some. Got here. Free up. Yeah, that was way easier. Do that from now on. This is the back of the TV panel, and this is not the original TV, so when I replaced it, I had that metal bracket made up. But the issue is I want to put the speakers over here on the sides, and now this support piece, it gets in the way. So you can see the lines here. I'm gonna cut this section out, and I should still have room to screw it in down here and maybe put a screw up in the corner, and that'll give my space for the speaker. Probably. Hey, Gabby, why don't you come help me really quick? Come here.
Yes.
Coming over on this side. And when I lift it and it's in place, I'm just gonna need you to help hold it up. So like, put a hand here and a hand here. When not quite yet. I need to get this in place first. Okay. Yeah. I was working on getting the amp rack back up here after I had cut back the ceiling to make some more vertical space, and realized that I only left myself about an inch to an inch and a half of space for this air hose to fit into. And I test fitted and kind of crammed the amp rack back in here, and it squashed the hose up against the side, and I thought, that'll do. So I went to do it for the final time. I was shoving and shoving and shoving, and ended up ripping the original hose. And then I started duct taping it, thinking that would do. And then I came to my senses and realized, you spent so much time on this, just do it right. So I ordered a new air hose, and while I was waiting for that to come in, I kind of addressed the actual root cause of the problem, and that was the fact that there was just so little space here for this hose to fit. So as you can see, I took out some extra material that I had here and made a pocket for this hose to sit. So now that'll fit in there without any problem. All I really had to do was just move this wire over a little bit. Not a big deal. So I did one on that side and also on that side. And that should allow the hoses to sit back there much more comfortably. Now that our amp rack is situated and in place, it's time to work on this back panel that's going to hold the speakers, be kind of an access hatch to get to these amps, and then also on the two corners I'm going to have some little computer fans that'll hopefully help circulate the air because these amps get kind of warm. So I've already marked it out where it's going to reach on top. So what I'm going to do is take some blocking and secure it to the underside of this bracing here, and then that'll be my anchor point to screw the base of this into, which will be the load bearing. And then I can figure out where I need to put a couple smaller blocks up on top of the ceiling to be able to just secure it and keep everything in place. And then I will have to cut a new panel. Now this is the original that had a cubby in it, but I'll have to cut a new one that'll fit this arc better and then come into the corners to hold those fans. There we go. So I cut these pieces at an angle so that when I put this guy up, it'll give me a nice solid surface to mount the screw to and keep the forward angle that I want. This is going to be tipped forward a little bit to give the speakers a little bit more space. Alright, trying to make this rear panel for the speakers was kind of interesting. This was the original here, so we were using that to try to figure out the size of these extension wings that we had to put on. So we used our tape and cardboard trick, and so that's how we got those to fit in there. And then we were trying to fit this bottom piece, trim panel there up, not realizing when I had originally cut this one that this extends down quite a bit. So unfortunately I didn't have another piece of plywood that was this size that I could cut a whole new one out of, so I ended up gluing some pieces on that worked pretty well. And I used the cardboard and tape trick to get that shape. This is the side. To get that shape as well, and then trace it onto here. And now when these panels come up, they fit pretty well. And then I'll flush cut this panel here. It'll all get wrapped in material and hopefully look really nice. So this will have, just like the original had, a cutout in the middle, and that will be our access to our amps if we need to make any adjustments. And just like this has here, we'll have speakers up on either side, somewhere through there. And then in the corners over there, I've got these fans, and these will mount behind somewhere right in the corner like that, and hopefully that will provide circulation with those two fans on either side blowing out and that cutout in the middle. That'll bring the circulation, fresh air coming in through the middle and then out through the sides. I got the holes cut in this panel already. I used the template up here to cut the holes for the two speakers on either side, and then this was just a 3.5-inch hole saw that I used for the hole for the fans that'll go in. And then to cut this guy, I used the original piece as a template and made it just a little bit narrower to fit the space better. The only other thing I have to do on this is recess this a bit so that this fan sits down into the plywood, and I think that'll bring it, well, that will bring it closer to the front edge. I think that'll look a little bit better. So another template I'll make for this, and then we'll get it on the router and finish this up. Got that recess part right there, and this fan should come in and fit right down in there. So now when we flip it up, it's nice and close to the front edge instead of being 3/4 of the way back. I'm working on this panel in the back, and I've got my blocking all in. You can see it up top here on the two sides, and then I've got 3 similar ones down here, and that's holding this panel in really sturdily. So now I can take this bottom panel, bring it up. I had it rough cut before, but now I can take my my multi-tool and bring it down here and run it right along the edge, so that when I wrap this material back over the edge, it should be nice and flush along here. You can see now that's nice and flush. I'll get my material to wrap over this corner, and it should make a nice seam right there. I put in one of these connectors so that I can easily hook the two fans up. So let me put this up here first. I will make that connection. Cool. Now, just gotta work this guy in. And on this right side over here, I've got a USB cable, an extension that plugs into the DSP. That way we can plug the computer in here without having to reach our hand all the way back there and get to the cable. And the van uses a bunch of these button head screws that allow us to take a finished button that's wrapped in the material of all the panels and snap that on, and then that covers the screw head. So we're going to be using machine screws for a lot of this, but as you can see, that head is too big to fit into that button. So we have chalked up a button in the drill, and we're going to turn on the sander, grind the head down so that it fits inside that button head. And now you can see that head fits right in there, And now that button snaps on there nicely. Cool, that thing is in there. And now that we got all those in, our button caps can snap on. There we go. Finally got this one finished off. Try these for the first time. And I can dim them. Yep. And then, I don't know if you can see those skylights, but those are on too. Awesome. All the panels are installed. So everything that we did to this side, we did to this side as well. This one is kind of temporarily up here. We still need to work out exactly how the bench is going to incorporate into this side piece. But these two corner pieces on either side are up. You can see we've got our speakers connected up next to our TV. And then also in the back, we've got our speakers hooked up. Those fans are in there, they work well. We've got the